Hello, this is Jane Talbot and it is day 50 of my adventures, and today I am starting a 7-day dream diary for the purpose of interpreting my dreams, looking for repeating patterns and, where relevant, taking aligned action. That is quite a brave intention. I'm not sure what's going to come out of this process. I'm using a process from this book here, Dreaming Realities, written by John Overdorf and Julie Silverthorne, and I have selected a process called the Dream Mind Triangle. On my blog you'll find a detailed diagram which takes you through this particular process, and so if you're watching this directly through YouTube, I'm going to leave a link to that particular blog post underneath this video so you can enjoy the process in full too. To help me keep on track, I've got a skeleton diagram, and I'm going to use this every day to help me structure my dream diary. So the first stage of the process is to write down the key elements of my dream. So the idea is my higher conscious mind has important messages for me. My unconscious mind encodes the message. So let's see what the key elements of the message are. So for me today, the key elements were these. There was a very, very large girl in her 20s, and she had a Midlands accent, and she was talking very loudly in a very small room with a group of people. I was in the room. I couldn't see the faces of the other people. I was only aware of this particular girl. And she was talking loudly about her issues, and the more she talked, the less I understood. And I really didn't get what her issues were. So I asked her, what are your issues? What's the problem? And she came straight up to me, to the end of my nose. It was nose to nose, and she was very aggressive. And she said, "It is obvious." Then I became aware that we were waiting for something or somebody in the room. And it turned out that we were waiting for the Pope. There was a change of scene in this medieval village. I don't know if I mentioned that the room was in a medieval village. I then went to the edge of the medieval village, and there was a wall, a stone wall. I could see over the stone wall, and on the other side of the stone wall was a pasture, a green, fertile pasture, sloping. At the top of the hill, of the slope, was a white wild horse and a young man, and they were running down the hill together. They were communicating. There was contact between them. They were very playful. They were wild and they were free. And they were kind of taking up the whole space. They didn't seem to care that anyone was watching them at all. They were just too busy enjoying themselves. And what I noticed watching them was I wanted to be on the other side of the wall. And that was the end of the dream. So on my skeleton diagram here, I would note, so what I know every day is my dream elements on the unconscious mind part of the triangle. The next thing is to fill in information on this part of the triangle. And for each element of the dream, I'm going to ask myself, what does this mean for me? And the answer I'm looking for is at a higher level of abstraction than the original dream information. And I'm going for initial, first association, gut reaction. The recommendation is that this is done in peripheral vision. Peripheral vision opens up the flow of information between the conscious and the unconscious mind. And I did this morning. So the girl with the Midlands accent, the Midlands area of the United Kingdom, is where I grew up. It's where my parents still live. And so the instant association for me with the word Midlands is home. The girl with the huge issues that I couldn't understand, the association, the meaning that came up for me is there is an issue staring me right in the face and I can't see it, or I'm choosing not to see it. The fact that it's in a medieval village, medieval for me, what comes up for me is old. The Pope is the spiritual head of the Catholic Church, so for me what came up was I am getting a message of a spiritual nature straight from the top. My own spiritual head is sending me an important message. That's brilliant, isn't it? And then going to the edge of the village, the wall. So for me, a wall is a separator or a divider, not a uniter. And the young man and the horse in the field, they're wild, free, having fun, playful. For me, that means the representation is of my true nature. So then what I do is I take those elements, those meanings, and I place them under the conscious mind section of the dream mind triangle. And the next stage is to ask, to what context, to which context in my life do those elements relate? And what came up for me was something very close to home. So I think that is enough information for now. So I place the context here, and then I ask myself, how does each of these elements, the conscious meanings that I've made, relate to this particular context? So what I've come up with is, there is something for me that's very close to home that isn't working out. This is an issue that is actually staring me in the face and that I haven't seen up until now, or I've refused to see up until now, but I am seeing it now. The medieval thing. I am running a very old pattern, and the old pattern I'm running is one of hanging on, keeping going. It's my endurance pattern, and in order to run this pattern, I kind of cut a deal with myself. I'll hang on to this thing, whatever it is, and the deal I have to cut to hang on is to let go, to lose a part of myself. Guess which part I have to give up? That's right, my true nature. The fact that the message is from my own spiritual head, it's come straight from the top, that is quite significant for me. And it seems to me that if I pay attention to this message and take action because of the nature of the message, it could change my whole life. And on the other side of that, if I don't change, I will always feel separate, divided from, that there's a war between me and my true nature. So the next stage, I would put all that information here. Then I'd go into peripheral vision, then into foveal vision, and then peripheral vision, peripheral, foveal, peripheral, and I'd keep going until I'd integrated the information and a message, a core message emerged. And the message that emerged for me is this: handle this issue. That's the main message. Handle this issue, and then in a way that respects your true nature. Now there's an invitation. See you tomorrow.